Hey guys, TronKat here, woo, and I think my camera's lopsided. Ooh, oh well. Okay, and today I'm gonna be reviewing, which side's up? Hold on, okay. This! Yeah, you don't know if, unless you, like, know what this is, yeah. There it is. Uncharted 3. Okay, so, I got the collector's edition, obviously, because it's Uncharted. So, anyway, this is really not a review, this is more of a first impressions, because I'm going to play the game a lot more to give, like, an actual good review after I've played it a lot, heard a lot of opinions, you know, blah, blah, blah. But I'm just going to give a first impressions right now, just what I think of it so far, and whether you should buy it or not, and I'm just going to go ahead and say right now, yes! This isn't a rent. This is not a rent. This is a buy. I don't care what anybody says. If you have a PS3, you will like this game. It's got something for everybody. Unless no, it's pretty much. But it is just a phenomenal game. Now let's start off with the story. The story is different. It was because the first two, the story was great, but both times it was very similar in formula, like very similar in what was gonna happen, twists and all that. I mean, there was a little more twist in Uncharted 2, but it was very similar story. This time around, it actually changes it up. You don't see a lot of the stuff coming. It's a lot more modern, modern explorer. It brings a lot of modern stuff to it. Like, it's really interesting. It's really interesting this time around, and the character development is phenomenal, especially between Sully and Drake. And seeing just all the backstory, I mean, you don't get to see much between Drake and Chloe, but Chloe was sort of done with in the second game. They just, she was sort of done. She sort of doesn't really need much more to her. She's already, you know, really developed, in my opinion. And there's a new character, of course, Charlie Cutter, and then the other character is Catherine Marlowe, who's a really good villain. For some reason, I actually really liked her as a villain. I'm really pleased with her. She just had a certain characteristic to her that really made you like her. And then there's Talbot, who's kind of, I like him a lot better than Flynn. Flynn was just freaking annoying. Talbot's actually interesting. He's actually got some really good characteristics to him. I kind of like him. Not really like him because he's kind of a villain and he's kind of a douchebag, but still. And then just all the different twists in the game are just phenomenal, and where it takes you to in the end, oh my gosh. I do not want to spoil it for you, but the end city that you go into is literally the most amazing thing I have ever seen in a game ever. I really think it is just the most amazing thing I've ever seen. Now, I don't want to spoil too much for it, so I'm really not going to go into the story more than that, but it's a very good story. It's very different from Uncharted 1 and 2. If that's something that you didn't like about Uncharted 2, that the story was very Uncharted 1, then this time around you'll be very pleased to see that there is a completely new story, and it is amazing in every aspect. Now, on to the, I guess, graphics, because this is, I would actually say that this is the most amazing part of the game. It surprisingly beats out the story in how amazing it is. Now, the graphics, yes, I will say this right now, there is a couple graphical glitches. But when you see how much new advancements they brought into the series, technology-wise and graphically, it's just so amazing that the glitches I don't even care about them. It's just like, I don't care. The graphics were just so amazing and well developed that those couple of glitches that you will run into, because it is a little glitchy, those couple of glitches that you run into don't really matter. They don't even matter. This is easily the best looking game on a console. The character models have amazing textures on them. With Uncharted 1, you had that shiny look. Some people didn't like that, and honestly, I'll admit it was a little eh. And in Uncharted 2, you got a little less of the shiny, but it still wasn't very textury. It was just sort of, you know, like one certain texture. In this game, you get a fully developed character model. It looks amazing. Textures, individual hairs, they just look amazing. Their clothing all looks phenomenal. Every character model in this game looks amazing. And there are so many different character models. Whether you're in, like, Yemen and you're walking through the cities and there's a bunch of different, people there. Or you're fighting a bunch of enemies. There's tons of different types of enemies. There's the pirates. There's Marlowe's recruits. There's the rednecks. I call them the rednecks. They're not really rednecks, but they kind of look like rednecks. So, there's the rednecks. There's, oh my gosh, it's just so many different character models, and they all look phenomenal. And the environments, I can't even describe how good the environments look. With Killzone, the character models look nice. A couple of the villains didn't look too great, though. And then the environments looked nice, but they just sort of had a crappy look to them. A sort of crappy art design, in my opinion. Now, I'm not trying to bash Killzone there. I'm just saying that's really the other game on console that you should compare this to, because that is literally the one of the best looking games. But with this game, the graphics, like just the environments, they look beautiful. The textures, the lighting, the shading, all the different freaking things that are on them, and then it looks pretty too. It doesn't just have a nice texture. It doesn't just have it doesn't just look realistic, it looks nice, and it looks believable. Now, it's just, yes, you'll run into even little small things, when you're just walking through the village, little things look textured and nice, and they put so much detail into everything. They put detail into every little thing you will see in the game to make sure that nothing takes you out of the experience of Uncharted 3. And really nothing does. Every area that I went into, my jaw dropped looking at every single freaking area in this game. This is easily the best game on any console, the best looking game on any console to date, and I would even say that it beats a lot of games on the PC. I would go as far to say that it is up there with the best games on PC. It really, really is. It is just so phenomenally looking. It just looks amazing. Now onto the game. I went into the detail. But onto the gameplay. The gameplay for the major part stays the same, but for the major part it also changes. In Uncharted 1, there was a lot of shooting towards the end, a lot of shooting, and towards the beginning there was just a lot of platforming. And, now, with this game, and in the second game, there was lack of puzzles, but there was a lot of shooting, and a lot of platforming. Now with this game, there's a lot of shooting at the end, but there's also a combination of platforming shooting. There's not many puzzles at the end, but throughout the game, they throw so many puzzles at you, and so much platforming and shooting, that it just really wraps together really well. Because there's some areas where you don't do any shooting, you're just platforming, or just puzzling. And there's some areas where you don't do much puzzling, but you're doing platforming and shooting. But it really, as you're going along, you never get bored of doing any specific thing. It really combines it and puts it together really, really well throughout the entire game. And another thing, they changed, this time around, they changed the melee again. Now in the first game it was, square, triangle, square, or square, 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 square. Square. Yeah. In the second game, it was just square, 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 unless they had to, count, unless you had to, and then they would try to hit you, you hit triangle, and then you hit square again. And in this game, it's a little more in-depth. It's basically the second one, but times 2. The enemies can also grab onto you, and then you have to, hit O, and then there can be an enemy running up to you, and you hit triangle to counter them off of you, and then you hit O again, and then you hit them off of you, and it's just, the melee system is amazing in this game. It is a lot more in-depth, and is, I've heard a couple people say it's really, a little repetitive, and I could see somebody saying that, but in my opinion, I just had so much fun meleeing, I could literally go through the entire game just meleeing. It is so much fun to melee. Now, of course you couldn't, because you'd probably die if you just went through the entire game meleeing. But, I'm just saying, the meleeing system is really fun, and it's really good to use. I personally loved it. I've heard some people say they didn't like it, but in my opinion, the melee system was phenomenal. So yeah, the melee is, and you can also attack people from above, if someone's below you, you can just hit square and then you'll jump onto them and it's awesome. And what else? Okay. The gunplay is a little different. It feels a little more... Some people say sometimes it'll feel a little more sluggish, sometimes it'll feel a little more loose, and I sort of agree with that, but I didn't have much to complain with it. I never really got angry at any of the shooting. It never really bothered me. I always felt that it was really fun to use, in my opinion. But, and then the platforming stays largely the same, but it feels a little better. Now, sometimes you'll find something that you're supposed to jump to it, and it just won't grab onto it. I only had that happen in mainly, like, 2 areas, and it was, like, one thing in those 2 areas, so that wasn't too big. That only happened very little times. And the puzzles are fun. Some of them are a little challenging, actually, and some of them are really easy, but they're just really fun to go through. None of them really pissed me off. My brother ran into one that said he took him forever to do, but none of them really took me too long to figure out. So most of the puzzles were really, really enjoyable, and if you like puzzles, there you go. I think I've covered most of the stuff in the game. Now, of course, the game isn't as long as the first or second, but in all honesty, it feels really long while you're playing it, because you're just so immersed into it, and all the epic scenes that happen, and all the amazing technical things, such as the... I'm not going to go into it because I don't want to spoil anything, but you know what I'm talking about if you've played the game. Like, it is just so, like, amazing. The game is just so overwhelming with how much stuff it throws at you. It is just... I never felt bored at any point in the game. I was always having fun, always... Even if I was just walking through a city or a desert or something, I was having fun. I was just having fun looking at the environment, or, you know, just looking around, really. It's just, everything just looks so amazing that you will even have fun doing nothing. So, yeah. And, of course, it took me about 6.5 hours to beat on easy. So, but that's not including all the cutscenes and all the times I died, so, yeah. Now, yeah. And there's also, of course, the multiplayer, which has a bunch of stuff to unlock. The multiplayer has a ton of unlockables, where it be the treasures, where you can get randomly, or the unlockables for your weapons, your character models, and you can customize your loadouts, character models, and it is just such a fun multiplayer. The competitive multiplayer is up there with a lot of the other multiplayers now. Uncharted 2 was simple, but addicting. Uncharted 3 is complex, but addicting. They've really upped the multiplayer in this game. It's really enjoyable, it's really interesting, and it's just really fun to play. And same with the cooperative. The cooperative in the second game, there wasn't as much as there is in this game. Now there's, you know, still arena, still adventure, or still objective, sort of. It was called objective in the second game, now it's called adventure. And now they've added a new mode where it's 2v2, and Hunter, you have to look it up on YouTube, I can't even explain it. Co-op Hunter, it's really, really fun to play, and especially if you have a good partner, that can name it. And now the co-op Adventure has its own little side story, so now you basically have a small little other campaign online. It's not really a big story, it's really small, but it's still fun to play through, and there's 5 missions instead of 3 like the last game. So there is just a ton to do here, guys. That is all I'm saying, that you've got this amazing campaign that you will want to play over and over and over. There is the amazing competitive, which will keep you coming back, because trust me, it is extremely addicting. And there is the amazing co-op, which has a bunch to offer. The game is just packed with amazing features, and I can barely find anything to complain about. I mean, yes, there's some glitches here and there. Yes, there's a couple times where I mean, you could try to find some things to complain about in this game, and I'm sure some people, you know, don't like it as much as Uncharted 2, maybe for a nostalgic factor, because Uncharted 2 is just so overwhelming then. This one has upped that overwhelmingness, and it is really amazing. Oh, they brought back driving, so there you go. Yeah, if you liked the driving in the first, it's a lot easier to drive in this one than it is in the first one. It's a lot more fun. So I did like the driving in the first one. I was really upset that they took it out in Uncharted 2, but they brought it back, and it's really fun to use. So anyway, guys, that's it for now. I would definitely say if you have a PS3, you need this game. You need this game. You need to go out right now, and if you do not have Uncharted 1 or 2, go out and buy the dual pack of Uncharted 1 and 2, and then buy Uncharted 3. Play through 1, play through 2, play through 3. It is an amazing series, and I just hope they make another game. I mean, could they? Maybe. I don't know. They could. It's Naughty Dog. They can do whatever the heck they want. So, after making such an amazing series, especially Uncharted 3, because it's the best. Anyway, guys, I'm not going to rate it just yet, but the way I talked about it, it probably sounds like a 10. It's really close to a 10. I'm not even going to say 9.5 because it does not deserve, I mean, I'm not saying 9.5 is low, I'm just saying it doesn't deserve a 9.5 because it is just so amazing. So, I'm not going to rate it right now, but I'm just going to let you know that this is easily the best game of this console generation by far. No comparison, nothing comes close to me. So, yeah, I will see you guys later, and I hope you enjoyed this review, or impressions, sorry. Bye.